Hopefully, many of you read the Altamont Enterprise, and that's why you're here tonight. We have a presentation from Mr. Palmer on the savings that have been realized this year and some ideas that he has for our budget for next year. And I'm going to turn the program over to him, and then after that, we'll invite you all to speak. And I will call you up based on your sign up on the sheet.
Okay, our BKW budget for 2013-14 was $21.53 million. Now that's the budget for the year that we are in right now. All right. Since I joined the district and Mark Kelly joined the district, I was here last June 1st and he was here in July. We have done a number of things to try to contain costs, to try to put aside more money to do a number of things that we'll talk about later, but basically to see if we can make things work a little more efficiently in the district. We eliminated 3 bus rides. 2 of them were retirees. We eliminated a secretarial position, a retiree. We eliminated 4 teacher aide positions. We had 5 teacher retirements that were not included in last year's budgeting, and we replaced them with less expensive teachers. We share our food service director now with Greenville. That started over the summer. And then we left vacant a maintenance position that was unfilled, and the total savings we've been able to create thus far is $604,000. So essentially what we have, and again I'll try to switch gears here, this is the budget that was adopted, and this is the budget that's been implemented, and it's $604,000 less than the one that was adopted. Now, we want to create a rollover budget that is basically taking what was in that lower spending plan, the adopted budget, and rolling it forward, but there's some things you have to keep in mind. So you basically roll everything over, but you have to adjust. Again. You have to adjust for contractual increases in salaries and other known increases and decreases. So the teachers have an increment in their salary. So they're on step 6 and they go to step 7, and whatever that cost increase is, you have to figure that out. And we do that person by person, going through all of our salary schedules for all of the employees, and also looking at other things like the fact that teachers' retirement has not been doing well. The fund itself in New York State, so the contribution rate has been going up. It goes up this year. We projected that. That's a $70,000 increase that we know is going to exist. Meanwhile, by the way, the ERS, the employee retirement system for civil service employees, is actually doing a little better, so that contribution rate is going down slightly this year. So we take everything, fuel oil, propane, the whole thing, and what we find out is that we have a total adjustment of $224,000. So now you can see that we have the rollover budget right here, which is higher than this one, but still lower than where we were with the budget that was adopted last year. So that, on this screen, it is a green bar. If you have the little handout, it's a light gray bar, but up at the top there is the area that presents possibilities. What are we going to do with this area? Now, notice that's right level. That's the same amount of spending that's available to us to make some decisions about. So the governor's budget proposes $204,000 in additional state aid for BKW. The legislature, as you know, takes its time and figures out what it's going to do with that. They'll adopt something probably around April 1. They've been pretty much on time the last few years, and that will include that state aid for BKW. Now, usually, in fact, I've been at this for 44 years, that seems like a long time, and the legislature has never adopted in my time a budget that was less than what the governor proposed. But we're going to be conservative, but we're going to assume $204,000 in new state aid. So, moving forward, well, without the state aid, we know that there was $380,000 in that little green bar. If we add in the proposed state aid, the governor is going to give us a $204,000, then we have $584,000 that we could spend without raising taxes. So now you can see that the green bar moves up a little higher. That's that $204,000 difference, and this is the options, the possibilities that we have to determine what we want to do. Now, we aren't done with all the reductions that we could do. We've looked at a number of things that we could also implement to try to help us deal with issues in the district. So we could combine 2 food service kitchens. We have one in that building and one in this building, and move to part-time staffing or BOCES. BOCES also is capable of running food service programs. That savings would be about $120,000. We are budgeting in this new budget, that rollover budget we just did, $125,000 that comes from the general fund, taxpayer money, to subsidize the school lunch program right now. Okay? We could share our operations and maintenance leadership with Greenville. That savings would be about $30,000. That's the same thing that we are doing right now with our food service director. We could eliminate 1, 2, or 3 more bus runs. We know 1, and we're very confident about it. 2 and 3, we've got some work on routing that we're doing between now and the end of March that will determine whether we can do that or not. We could convert our business office to the BOCES Central Business Office. We had a meeting with those folks today, and depending on what form we do that in and how that might be done and what positions might be involved, we could save up to $100,000. Now, I want to mention for 2 things. First, for the kitchens, one of the issues there is, well, what happens to those employees? Well, if they become part-time and they don't have benefits, now they have an option they didn't have before, which is the health exchange. And if you've been familiar with this, or you have any friends or relatives, and I do, who have applied to the health exchange, they can get health insurance based on their income, and it's pretty reasonable cost health insurance. Right? That wasn't available when the district considered these kinds of options in the past. Convert the business office to BOCES Central Business Office. When we met with them today, one of the things that we discussed with them was, well, what happens to the employees that work there now? Obviously, they're not guaranteed a job there, but they do have an option for a potential job in that system if it works. In other words, once BOCES picks up those positions, how would it work? They would look at whether those people are the right people for those jobs, and that could actually end up being the same employees, but employed by BOCES, not by us. Use a local special education collaboration instead of BOCES. Right now, we send students down, mostly to Albany, Rotterdam, Schenectady, to special education classes from the district. We have about 31 of them that are outside the district right now. Some of them go to these BOCES programs, and the tuition is on the order of $45,000 to $55,000 per child per year. One way to cut the costs and also have those kids on the bus less time is to have some of the districts in this area collaborate for some of those classes where it works. If we get 5 or 6 of those kids in one of our buildings, or in Middleburg's or Schoharies or Duanesburg's or Greenville's, we could save money. And not only that, the kids would be on the bus less time. Okay? So we are going to look into that. Now, if we did all of those things, the savings could be anywhere from $450,000 to $675,000. Or the board and the community could say, stop, we don't want you to do any more savings, just leave it the way it is. All of those are options. Now, this is one that the district has dealt with before. The school property tax cap. How much can taxes go up? Well, there's a formula that the state requires you to use. We have done the calculations, and the amount is 3.1%, which means if we really needed to, we could raise taxes as much as 3.1%. It would raise $310 in additional revenue for the district. So what are the choices? Well, we could do all of the savings, roll over the budget, not put anything into improving the program, and reduce taxes by 10.3 to 12.6%. Okay? That's a pretty big number. We could raise the school taxes 3.1%, that's the maximum, put in that extra $310,000, implement all the potential cuts, and have available somewhere between 1.34 and 1.57 million for settling the contracts and educational program improvements in our schools. Or you could take a balanced approach somewhere in between those 2 extremes. So any one of those options, we're in the middle. Now, the contracts have been a contentious issue in this district for a number of years. And we have settled 1 of 3 that remain outstanding. And this is our estimate on how that would work. How much will it cost to settle the district contracts? Well, there's teacher and CSEA that haven't been settled yet. So there's a multi-year pay raise for employees going forward. partially offset by health insurance savings. There's also a one-time lump sum payment to employees this year from the district's very healthy savings, that's its fund balance, that would not affect future years' budgets. The estimated net cost per year to the budget to settle both contracts is $55,000. Now, we've gone through some numbers with Mr. Kellett, our business official, the board, our attorney. We don't have all these contracts settled. This is, again, a very conservative estimate of the cost of settling these contracts versus not settling. Why do we need program improvements in BKW? Well, first, our test scores are low, and that's compared to the whole state, compared to just rural schools, which generally are lower than the state average, and compared to districts like BKW across the state. And that includes, we picked out a group of 15 small rural districts with the same kind of sparsity, the same kind of poverty, the same kind of pretty much everything, and did the comparison, and our test scores were low. Enrichment programs for high-performing students and academic intervention and supports for struggling students were cut in previous years. Many people in this audience were here when that happened. It was a very painful process for the district to see those things cut. And new high standards for our kids, including harder tests, new teaching materials, new text, and more teacher training. All of that is needed. So that's why you would want to look at improvements. Well, here's some possible ones. And I've talked with our principals, and they've worked with their staff, and we have a list. And you can say, well, this is your wish list. Yes, it is, but it's also things that would help the program here at BKW, and it's a long list. We could do BOCES training and coaching for secondary school teachers, and the same kind of stuff for our elementary teachers. And we got price tags next to that because we've looked at the BOCES price list and what would be involved. Summer curriculum work for 15 secondary and 12 elementary teachers. Secondary school curriculum materials and text for new curriculum. We've started to implement the new Common Core Regents exams at the high school this year, and as we go through each of the future years, we'll see more of that. Also, many of you, our parents, have seen your kids coming home with lots of copied pieces of paper. That's because we don't have new text that align to the new standards. We also are looking for 7 elementary certified teaching assistants, 1 for each grade level in the elementary school. Now what we're talking about here is when we settle our contract with the teacher support staff, we put a new salary level in there. It's $24,000 for certified teachers who will work as teaching assistants in the schools to offer more tutoring, support, and extra enrichment for kids. So that 3rd grade, instead of having just 3 teachers and a special ed teacher, would have 3 teachers and a special ed teacher and a teaching assistant to help work with those kids to provide that so that all those kids would be available to get extra enrichment and or remediation. I'll get it right. Okay, more possible improvements. Can secondary teachers take on an additional class? In most of the districts I've worked in before, teachers take on an extra class, they get extra pay for it. It works out good for the district because we get extra teaching, and it's less expensive than it is to hire a part-time teacher or a full-time teacher. And we're saying we could use 10 sections to provide additional electives for kids for enrichment and also for academic support for kids that are struggling. A job coach, special education transition coordinator. You heard me talk earlier about CDOS. This is helping special ed kids move into the community and be successful at jobs. We have a person who works with us on transition now. This would expand that position, which is out from part-time. Protects our state. We've already take any of this here that's new to teach around and make materials and text that we have work the best that they can. 2 AIS, that's academic intervention support. Reset common time for elementary teachers. This is going into effect this year. We basically did, Audrey Rutgers, our elementary principal, and our teachers came in over the summer to work full days. We also freed them up with substitute time in the fall to work, so all the 3rd grade teachers were working with Audrey, and in some cases with help from BOCES, to plan for their curriculum and improve their instruction. And we found it was very valuable. So now this is a way for them to meet every day Instead of going outside with the kids at recess, we'll have an aide who helps cover that so those teachers can do planning together every day. And one certified teacher as teaching assistant in the secondary school for science and social studies, another area where we don't have support at this time. The elementary librarian we have is a 2-day per week BOCES person. This is the cost to increase that elementary librarian to full-time. A full-time instrumental music teacher at the secondary school. Those of you who were here during the cuts will remember that that was one of the things that was cut out of the high school. 2 days per week, science teacher to co-teach with the regular elementary cost of $22,000. Our science curriculum, when we looked at the test scores in the 15 schools that we compared to, we were at the very bottom, the 0th percentile for science scores. And that's not compared to the whole state, that's compared to 15 districts like us in New York State. So that's a priority area for improvement. A full-time computer science business teacher for the secondary school. Right now, we send 55 kids down to BOCES vocational program, primarily because we don't have any programs here for kids. A number of the kids that are going there would stay here if we had the options available right here on site. That's something we should be doing, okay? The AIS substitute teachers at the elementary school, we found an option this year that we have put in place also where we can hire substitutes 4 days a week. It doesn't run afoul of the regulations at state ed. And those teachers can go in and help out at various grade levels. So we're looking for 2 people that would do that 4 days a week next year, and the cost of that is $30,000. And a part-time art teacher at the secondary school, again, this was a program that got cut. There's an elementary science and engineering curriculum called Project Lead the Way. It was started in Shenandoah. There's an elementary curriculum that goes with it. This would be a great thing to have at BKW. We have a .4 foreign language teacher at the high school right now. We could fill up his classroom with kids for an additional $49,000. We have a secondary school equipment repair need. We have all kinds of equipment in technology, music, art that has not been repaired for years. Much of it is not usable. If we hire an instrumental music teacher, we better get the music equipment and the other stuff in shape. We have a certified teacher as teaching assistant at the secondary school library lab for more keyboarding and business instruction for our kids. And athletics and PE also has equipment repair needs. If you know, we have exercise equipment that is badly in need of repair that hasn't been taken care of in years as well. And the total for all of those things, and there's not one thing on there that isn't something that we could use. I'm not saying we should buy all of it, but is $1,575,000. Now, what's my recommendation? We implement the additional cuts. That means downsize the kitchen, cut the bus runs, look for shared services in operations and maintenance and special ed, and BOCES for the business office. Try to get all the numbers in place by April 1st. So we've got roughly a month and a week to work on that. Settle both the contracts or firm up the dollar amounts by April 1st. So that if we're going to settle them, what's it going to cost us? Get community input from the Budget Advisory Committee and the community forum that we're planning to hold in March. And create a prioritized list of improvements and contract settlement costs to fit into a $21.77 million 2014-15 school budget. That equals a contingency budget and a 0% tax increase. Provide the school board with that prioritized list and the contract improvements savings dollars by April 1st so they can make their approval with regard to what they want to do. Make the necessary adjustments to my recommendations and adopt a budget by April 21st. And then the public hopefully will approve that on May 20th. If they do not, a second vote by the public on June 26th, or adopt a contingency budget of $21.77 million. So that's pretty much what I'm recommending at this point based on the work that we've done. I'd like to finish with just a few words about why I've come to the conclusions I have regarding BKW. First, I really like this community. I like the people here. like the kids here. I think we have a very strong community aspect here that we want to take advantage of. Second, when I looked at the data, and I really did spend a lot of time with data, and that's something I'm fairly good at, I came to the conclusion that there was a lot of money here, but it wasn't being spent in the right places. I'm trying to give you, the board said to me when they hired me that their number one priority was to improve the academic program. Well, if you're going to improve the academic program, you've got to put more money and more resources into the academic program. I am very sensitive to those taxpayers in this district who say that my taxes are too high. You are correct. Okay? You're correct. But if you're going to try to rein in the taxes and also improve the academic program, the only place you can go is to look at the non-teaching areas to create the savings that we need to create. Now, don't get me wrong, I've met a lot of good people here. Some of the good people I've met here are nervous about this because we're talking about their jobs. I realize that. But BKW has a choice to make, and I really feel like Mark and I are doing our job. We are giving you, the community here at BKW, the choice. You can move toward having a much higher quality educational program available to the students here, or you can hold on to what you've had, which is basically a lot of jobs for folks in the community. You can't afford to do both. And, I do understand and really support people who say, yeah, but I can't afford to pay more taxes. That's why we work so hard to create some options by looking in a different direction.